Shalom, giving all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh Bashem Al Shai. Forgive me the spirit and power to make this lesson. Double honors unto the elders and apostles of Great Millstone that teach this truth and rule well. Wabarakatham unto the elect. This is the brother Gabar from the Great Millstone Dallas branch, and I'm back with another lesson. And I wanted to go into how basically when you're going through your situations, different situations that, you're going to go through in life and this truth, to always trust Yahweh Bashem Al Shai. Even when you don't see the end of it, you don't see the way out, you have to have trust, you have to have faith in Yahweh Bashem Al Shai, no matter what, okay? And I want to back this up with some precepts, and Lord's will, this is edifying unto the body. I want to begin with Sirach chapter 2 in the GNT, and I will start at verse 1. All right, and it says, the title of this chapter says, Faithfulness to God, okay? Because ultimately we're going to need faith. The scripture says what? Let me grab precept 5, begin with that. Sirach. This is 2 Corinthians chapter 5 and verse 7. It says, for we walk by faith, not by sight, right? So the side of your situation can be very dark. It can seem like it's no light in it, but ultimately you have to keep the faith, all right, the trust, all right, and your integrity towards Yahweh Bashem Al Shai, okay? Just because, certain situations are happening, all right, that you're in, things are happening around you, that doesn't mean that you fold, you leave the truth, all right, and, but rather you cling harder towards Yahweh Bashem Al Shai. That would be the time to cling to Yahweh Bashem Al Shai even more, okay? 2 Corinthians 5 and 7, for we walk by faith, not by sight. So this journey is a thing of faith, all right? It's a thing of faith, of belief. So you're not going to see all the time, but you're supposed to believe all the time, okay? Now I want to get into that Sirach chapter 2 and verse 1 in the GNT. It says, my child, if you are going to serve the Lord, be prepared for times when you will be put to the test. So understanding when you come into the truth that you're going to go through certain things, and you're going to go through things that you didn't think you would go through, or that you didn't think you would go through that soon. But Yahweh Bashem Al Shai is that father, and he's doing things, he's working things, all right, and he's changing things in you and purging things out, via the situations you're going through, and increasing your faith, through the tribulations you're going through, is working your endurance, your patience, your faith, okay? Verse 2, be sincere and determined. Keep calm when trouble comes, right? As the scriptures say what? Let me get this. 2 Timothy chapter 1 and verse 7. All right, that calmness is going to come via Yahweh Bashem Al Shai, Bashem Rachak Radash, okay? You have to tap into that. You have to read. You have to, be amongst the body, okay? Keep it spiritual, okay? It says, 2 Timothy 1 and 7, for Yahweh hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind, okay? So the Lord has given us that, all right, but you don't want the sight around you to take that from you, all right, which is Satan, okay? Just like Job, you read Job, go read Job chapter 1, okay, and it's you see how, Job started catching hell, and it was all very fast, all right, the situations he was put in, and it was just rapidly, and just happening, like that, like a domino effect. Okay, because the Lord allowed Satan, and that's another thing you have to remember, that the Lord has allowed Satan to have you in a situation, to put you in a situation, I say rather, Okay, so it says, and of a sound mind. All right, so the Lord provides that sound mind to you. All right, when you go to Him. Okay, so when you're going through different things, seek Yahweh Ba'Shem Al Shai, all right, for that comfort. Okay, and that can be, it can be in a couple of different ways. Okay, but you have to do that. Okay. It can be through a brother. It can be through reading, of course, praying, fasting, okay, doing what you have to do, all right, watching the lessons and stuff, okay. John chapter 16 and verse 33. These things I have spoken unto you, that in me ye might have peace. In the world ye shall have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. Okay, these are the words of Yahweh Shai. All right. So Yahweh Shai, all right, that's our peace. It's not in this world. It's not in different things in this world, different vices. If something is happening and, you feel a certain type of way because we're in this flesh. So, and demons can, hop on you. All right, whatever the Most High allows in your situation, in your test. All right, when you're being put to the test. All right, but you have to remember that the peace is in Yahweh Shai. All right, Yahweh Shai went through worse. Okay, so that should give you peace automatically. Okay, but you have to tap into that, that mindset. Okay, these scriptures give you peace. All right, Yahweh Ba'Shem Al Shai, Ba'Shem Rachakwadash. All right, that's where your peace is. Not anything in this world, because this world provides superficial medicine, I say. Okay, it provides superficial medicine, and it leads to bullshit. It's not real. Yahweh Shai has the real healing in His wings, which ultimately we're gonna get when He returns. But hey, the Lord left us a sound mind that we can tap into. With these scriptures, understanding when you read these scriptures that, okay, I'm gonna go through things, okay, but the Lord is gonna be with me, to encourage me and to help me, through whatever tribulation. Just as Yahweh Shai, when He went through what He went through, okay, and then hey, you get rewarded for what you go through as well, 100-fold, for the things that you forsaken. All right, these different things we're suffering. The Lord is not only gonna provide a sound mind, peace, and comfort, okay, in those, all right, which you're still gonna feel, a certain type of way at times, because that's just how it is. Even Yahweh Shai, all right, before, He was crucified, even the agony, the terror of just, of that happening, and praying to the Father for it to be taken away, and the Father not answering Him, all right, because that had to be done, all right, for us to be here. Yahweh Shai had to do it for, Himself and us, okay? But He was sweating drops of blood, which is basically a terrible state of stress, okay? So you're going to feel a certain type of way, but you still have to, gird up your loins and do what you have to do at the end of the day, okay? And then, like I said earlier, in certain situations, it's going to be different, so you have to keep in mind, okay? Yeah, because we're not going to go through exactly what Yahweh Shai went through, okay? And nobody has and nobody will, okay? He's Yahweh Shai. He's the one, okay? Going back to Sirach chapter 2, I'll read verse 2 again. It says, be sincere and determined. Keep calm when trouble comes, right? Understanding this, the Lord is trying me, testing me, my character, okay? And, and understanding that this isn't going to be forever. Yahweh Ba'Shem Al Shai is eventually going to, He's going to exalt you again in due time, all right? But you have to, show forth, your faith, because faith is proven by your works, man. All right, so you're going to go through different things to, Lord is seeing if you believe or if you're just going to flake. Okay, as the scriptures say, I believe in Sirach, it says, I'll just grab it. Sirach 6 and 7. If thou wouldest get a friend, in wisdom through the Holy Spirit, we've been made friends of Yahweh Ba'ashem Al Shai. As Yahweh Shai even told his disciples, I call you no more servants, but friends. For the servant knoweth not what his Lord doeth, but roughly paraphrasing, because Yahweh Shai was, telling us everything. We have the 100% truth. Okay? Or telling, his disciples everything, on down to this day, he's still supping with his disciples in the spirit as those men are back today. Okay. It says, if thou wouldest get a friend, prove him first and be not hasty to credit him. Right. So the credit is going to come in the kingdom. Ultimately, you're going to have high moments here. The Lord's going to, bless you with certain things and stuff here. But ultimately, the credit we're looking for and the credit that's going to be given, all right, is the kingdom, man, receiving those new bodies, all right, being in the kingdom with Yahweh Shai, eating at his table, okay, being joint heirs with the Lord, being saved, okay, on and on and on, but yeah, okay, so you have to be proven first, just like who? Just like Abraham was proven, and we're going to get around to that, but just like Abraham was proven, okay, matter of fact, we'll continue. This is Genesis chapter 22 and verse 10. All right. When Abraham was being obedient to the word of the Lord and was about to, sacrifice his son Isaac, all right, to the Lord as he commanded. Genesis 22 and 10. And Abraham stretched, and to mention that, he loved his son. It wasn't just, of course he in the flesh, you lose your son. Okay, he's near and dear to him. That's who the promise was, told to come, go through. Okay, it says in Genesis 22 and 10, and Abraham stretched forth his hand and took his knife to slay his son. And the angel of the Lord Yahweh called unto him out of heaven and said, Abraham, Abraham. And I said, here am I. And he said, lay not thine hand upon the lad, neither do thou anything unto him. For now I know that thou fearest Yahweh, seeing thou hast not withheld thy son, thine only son, from me. You see? And of course, he had multiple sons. When you go read, it's not saying literally that was his only son. All right, but that's whom the promise was going to go unto, and then Jacob and the 12 sons on down to today, Israel. Okay, but you see, the point is that in verse 12, how it says, for now I know that thou fearest Yahweh. Okay, so you gotta be proven, all right, which the Lord already knows, all right, but he wants to manifest it for his own will. Okay, so likewise, you're gonna be Abraham in that situation at times where you're gonna have to be in situations where you don't understand really, all right, but you just got to be obedient. And in this, he didn't even have to really offer his son up, all right, but the Lord was trying him, test him to see, if he truly believed and feared the Lord and was truly obedient, which he was. And then what? All right, matter of fact, next verse. Matter of fact, we're going to read from that. We're going to read a couple of verses. Okay. It says in verse 13, Genesis 22:13, and Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him a ram caught in a thicket by his horns. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered him up for a burnt offering in the stead of his son. Okay. And Abraham called the name of that place Jehovah Hari, Salakia, all right, which isn't Jehovah but Yahweh. Okay, it says, as it is said to this day, in the mount of the Lord Yahweh it shall be seen. And the angel of the Lord Yahweh called unto Abraham out of heaven the second time and said, by myself have I sworn, said the Lord Yahweh, for because thou hast done this thing, I has not withheld thy son, thine only son, that in blessing I will bless thee. See? So before that credit comes, before that blessing comes, you're going to have to be tested. You're going to have to be tried. Okay, as beautifully mentioned by the brother, Yawan at Wednesday camp this week that passed, because today is Friday. All right, we're about to have Friday camp out here in downtown Dallas. Okay, but he mentioned how before a king, gets into that position of kingship, he must go through these severe, like rigorous, toils and trials and tribulations before he gets to that point. And they show you that in different movies and such. Okay, and hey, it's also written. You go look at King David, what he went through before he sat down as king. He went through hell. Saul after him, all kind of crazy stuff. Okay, but look at his conduct in it. Look at his character. That's what you got to focus on. That's what you got to imitate, Yahweh Shai. Okay, and David was known for being merciful. As Saul was trying to slay him, he could have slayed Saul, and he didn't. Okay. Now, we're not in that exact position right now, but, you can apply that to you in your situation, however that you can, through the Spirit, these scriptures. Okay, but let me finish this precept and we'll hop back. Genesis 22:17. That in blessing I will bless thee, and in multiplying I will multiply thy seed as the stars of the heaven, and as the sand which is upon the seashore. And thy seed shall possess the gate of his enemies. Okay. All right. Which prophecy is going to ultimately play out to where in the kingdom, is going to be so. All right. And everybody's going to be righteous. Okay. Now I want to go back to Sirach chapter 2 and verse 3 in the GNT. Stay with the Lord, never abandon him, and you will be prosperous at the end of your days. See, just like Job. Okay, Job stayed with the Lord. Okay, all of his days, and he was prosperous at the end. Now check this though. All of those days were not good, but Job stayed with the Lord. So when you're going through certain things, and it's not the good times, the high times, but your lowest moments even, all right, you're supposed to be clinging to Yahweh Ba'ashem Al Shai. You really even more. All right. And ultimately trusting in him, even if you don't understand, as Job didn't really understand. And then the Lord, spoke with him when you go read the story. All right. But then what? At the end, he blessed him. All right. He blessed him. All right. With more than he had at the beginning. Okay. Now, I want to grab something out of Job, actually, before we jump back to that. Job chapter 2 and verse 10. And I want to get it in, let me see. Let me see 1 second. See about GMT version. Let me try NLT. Job chapter 2 and verse 10. But Job replied, you talk like a foolish woman. Should we accept only good things from the hand of Yahweh and never anything bad? So in all this, Job said nothing wrong, right? Because he was on point. You're going to receive good and bad. All right. And that bad is to prove you. Okay. And the Lord will give you good, as well. But you got to get through, those tough times as well. The Lord wants you to be a true friend, not just somebody that, is just there, in the good times, like a gold digger, basically. All right, the Lord wants a true loving woman. Don't you want a true woman? You wouldn't want a gold digger. You would want a woman that's really down for you, through what they say when they getting married, through thick and thin, through sickness and health. Well, the Lord going to put you through thick and thin, and he going to put you through sick and health. All right. Now, you could literally go through sickness, a certain sickness, all right, or you could just be in a poor state, mentally, or, your money, or anything. The Lord can use anything he wants, okay? So Job understood that, all right? And look what happened with Job when he cast not his integrity off, even when his woman told him to, because all the hell he was going through, she said, curse the Most High and die, and that's actually when he said that, all right? It's actually when Job said that. You go read verse 9. It says, his wife said to him, are you still trying to maintain your integrity? Curse God and die. You see all this going on, and you still see, that was really Satan on her. All this going on, and you still trusting the Lord. He done did this to you, this done happen, and you still, man, just curse the Most High and die. And then Job said, what? You talk like a foolish woman. Should we accept only good things from the hand of Yahweh and never anything bad? All right, so you have to have the same mindset, man. You got to have that same mindset. And it's tough. And it's tougher at certain times and easier at other times. But you got to have that mindset. And that mindset ultimately is through faith, man. It's just ultimately through faith. Okay? Because as we know, let me grab it. And I might end up grabbing this again. But Hebrews chapter 11 verse 1. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Right? When you're going through trouble, you don't see the good. All right, as the scriptures even say, I grab another one. Sirach chapter Sirach chapter 11 and verse 25. In the day of prosperity, there is a forgetfulness of affliction. Right? When you're feeling good, you ain't thinking about, times of trouble. And in the day of affliction, there is no more remembrance of prosperity. Right? All right, so you can easily lose sight, of, or I'll say, and when you're going through times of trouble, easily you cannot see a way out, But faith is the substance of things, not seen yet, hope for, not seen yet. You got to keep faith alive. You got to keep hope alive, okay? No matter what, man. Because ultimately, Yahweh B'Shem Shah can turn your situation around whenever he wants. All right, whenever he feels. And he will. You're not going to be down forever. Okay? But it just feels like that. And these bodies, emotions are heavy. Demons can play on your mind. And they do at times. All right, and the Lord allows it at times to see your reaction. All right, just like Job that we just read. All right? All this going on, then, have his woman say that. Put the spirit on her to say that, and then see what Job gonna say. All right, see what is he gonna be like? Job could have easily be like, you know what, fuck, damn, you right. Ain't shit going right. I lost my kids. I lost my wealth. I lost this. My health is gone. You know what? Fuck it. Job could have easily said that, but he stuck to the side of Yahweh B'Shem Shai. And it went good with him at the end. All right, back in Sirach, chapter 2 in the GNT, and verse 3. Stay with the Lord, never abandon him, and you will be prosperous. That prosperity, remember, you're going through affliction, but that prosperity will come. But when will it come? After that, it says, and you will be prosperous at the end of your days. Wasn't Job prosperous at the end of his days after he stuck to the side of Yahweh B'Shem Shai, though he was catching hell? Yes. Okay, verse 4. Accept whatever happens to you. All right, and that's the biggest thing right there, man. All right, trusting Yahweh B'Shem Shai, number one, uno, and accepting it. Because if you don't accept it, then you're going to continue to act in a manner, where whatever Yahweh B'Shem Shai is, he's doing to purge out of you and to grow your faith isn't going to grow, and you're not going to be purged completely, at least. Okay, so you got to accept it, man. And that alone is very, very tough. That's very tough, depending on, what it is. But hey, you got to accept it with humility. Okay. Yeah, the Lord put you in that situation for whatever reason of his, to teach you. All right. Verse 4 again. Accept whatever happens to you, even if you suffer humiliation. Be patient. You see, and humiliation comes before honor, man, as the scriptures say. Okay. Verse 5. Gold is tested by fire, and human character is tested in the furnace of humiliation. You see? So when you're going through humiliation, your business is all out there, different things. Hey, man, accept it. Fuck it. You know, it's a righteous way to say fuck it, and it's a wicked way to say fuck it. The wicked way is like fuck it, and you just going with the flesh, whatever, you know. And there's a righteous way, like fuck it. Though these things are happening, I'm not going to cast off my integrity. You know, I'm just going to deal with, you know, whatever I got to deal with. And that alone is painful as fuck. But that pain is the purging, you know. It says gold is tested by fire, and human character is tested in the furnace of humiliation, right? Because, let me grab a precept. Sirach 12:8. A friend cannot be known in prosperity, right? If the Lord just, you know, if it's always good, everybody gonna join the truth. As soon as you join the truth, you get money into your bank account, you get the fringes, you know, you get 7 wives, you get spiritual power, the new body just drop out of heaven and hit you, boom. You just, you know, but the Lord, you know, your character, you know, you never got tried and tested. So the Lord, you know, it's just that. It's not deep. It's not anything. But when you go through, you know, the adversity, that's when you're known to be a true worshiper, a true friend, a friend to Yahweh Shema Shai. Okay. It says, an enemy cannot be hidden in adversity, right? So the Lord definitely wants to know his enemies, which he already knows, but he manifests. Okay, he manifests it. All right, by taking you through certain things. That's why you see, all right, in this truth, all right, certain men, certain believers, they go through certain things, and then that's the end of them. You know, you don't want to be that person. You want to be, hey, when the Lord is trying and testing you, proving you, though it's chaotic and you don't even know what's going on, and then, you know, you feel like you're being wronged in certain things, and you literally are going to be wronged in certain things. People are going to wrong you. You know, you're going to be right, and they're going to be wrong, and they're going to win, and it's going to hurt. All right, but what are you going to do about it? What you going to do? But you going to avenge yourself? You going to go avenge yourself? Or you going to have faith in Yahweh Shema Shai? You know, put it in his hands. Just like Susanna. Those two elderly men, they wanted to run a choo-choo on this woman. All right, and she was righteous, okay, but she was beautiful, and they was watching her while she was bathing day after day and stuff. They came up with that plan, and they said, hey, if you don't let us do what we're gonna do, what we trying to do, you know, the people gonna believe us when we go out there and we say, hey, you was in here committing adultery and we caught your ass. All right. And she had a decision to make. You just let them do what they're gonna do, and, you know, just let it be, you know, and fall into that, or stick to Yahweh Shema Shai and cry out how she was supposed to. All right, though it don't even seem like it's a way out of that. And guess what? She stuck to Yahweh Shema Shai and cried out. And then the Lord put the spirit on Daniel, all right, to, you know, basically resolve that case. All right. And she lived, though she was being taken to be put to death. You know, she lived. Okay. So the Lord can perform miraculous, you know, miracles, you know, to save you. Okay. Out of that adversity, after he, you know, finds that you're a true friend. All right. Or he can just tell you to stop, just like Abraham. You know, whatever it is, just, okay, that's enough. That's all I wanted. Now I know that you're true. You for real. That's what I wanted. You know. Now, let's go back to Sirach chapter 2 and verse 6. It says, trust the Lord in the GNT. Trust the Lord, and he will help you. Walk straight in his ways and put your hope in him. You see? So trust in Yahweh Ba'ashem Al-Shai, no matter what, unto the end. Okay? If that's the end, fuck it. That's the end. You know? Just like, hey, Daniel chapter 3 and verse 15. Okay? It says, this was when Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego was about to be cast into that fiery furnace. But this was their mindset on the way in, basically. All right, when they wasn't gonna bow down to those to the idol or whatever, to these idols and stuff. All right, they wasn't gonna commit that sin. They stuck to the Lord, and what happened? Did the Lord just leave them? No. Sirach 2 and 10 says, for whom did trust in the Lord and was forsaken, who feared the Lord and was confounded, roughly paraphrasing. Now it says, Daniel 3 and 15, now if ye be ready, this is the king Nebuchadnezzar talking to him. Now if ye be ready, that at what time ye hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, and dulcimer, and all kinds of music, ye fall down and worship the image which I have made you. All right, which we know that's direct violation of the scriptures. All right, to not bow down to an image, worship it, image made with hands, and worship it. Okay, because we worship Yahweh Ba'ashem Al-Shai. All right, it says, but if ye worship, Slakia, it says, where I left off, ye fall down and worship the image which I have made, well, but if ye worship not, ye shall be cast the same hour into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. And who is that power that shall deliver you out of my hands? Right. So yeah, you can be in the hands of a person or in a situation. All right. But the Lord can deliver you out of their hands, man. All right, the Lord's hand is not short that it cannot save. It wasn't, oh, damn, he got him he turned up the furnace. Sorry, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. Damn, my bad. Nah, man. The Lord has saving power. The Lord is mighty. Verse 16, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we are not careful to answer thee in this manner. If it be so, our power whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of thine hand, O king. You see, having that trust, having that faith. And also on the flip side, all right, on the flip side, verse 18, but if not, be it known unto thee, O king, that we will not serve thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. Okay. So, and that pissed off the king Nebuchadnezzar. All right, making him he turned up the fiery furnace 7 times more, which is all through the spirit though, because the Lord did that and still delivered them, showing his power, amplifying and magnifying his power even more. Okay. So yeah, that's the mindset you gotta have. Like, hey, Yahweh Ba'ashem Al-Shai can turn my situation around and deliver me out of this hell. But if not, then so be it. And let it be known that, that I'm faithful to Yahweh Ba'ashem Al-Shai. Fuck it. And that's the mindset you got to have, especially in these last days, as the prophecy, says how there will be martyrs, So somebody's going to play that role out anyway. And if it's you, you got to have that mindset. Fuck it. If you got to go into the guillotine for not taking that MOTB, even if your whole family done took it, if your kids took it, if you got a family, if you got kids like that, your cousin took it, your mama took it, your woman could take it, everything could fold on you. And then, they're telling you, if you don't, then you're going into the guillotine, delete it. Hey man, you got to say, fuck it, because what's at stake? Your crown. Let no man take your crown. You got to understand what's before you. Hebrews 12 and 2, man. It says, looking unto Yahweh Shai. All right, as Yahweh Shai said, that he's giving us examples. So you're supposed to take that example and follow it. Okay. Looking unto Yahweh Shai, the author and finisher of our faith. Right. All right. Yahweh Shai is the one, okay, and he's the way. All right, it says, who for the joy that was set before him, right, being taken back to that first estate he was in, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of Yahweh. Okay, so just like Yahweh Shai, and he had to lay down his life, you know. But just like Yahweh Shai, you got to have the mindset of like, you know, what's at stake? The kingdom, you know, your crown, you know, your eternal reputation, as the brother Yuan speaks about a lot as well, which is, you know, very exhortational. You know, it can exhort you very hard, understanding that, you know, you're going to give up something, a little something on this side, a moment, a morsel to have, you know, eternal, you know, you know, your head down, you know, to be lower in the hierarchy, you know, and you got to die anyway. Like, what the fuck? You got to die anyway. Now, the emotion is still there, just like I spoke about Yahweh Shai, you know. I believe it was the Mount of Olives or the Garden of Yosemite, Slakia, you know, but when he was sweating those drops of blood and that stress, you know, but he still had to do what he had to do, and he still did as a man. You got to have that mindset. The Lord wants you to have that mindset. You have to have that mindset. Because what? Because you can't be weak. Let's grab that. This is Ephesians 6:10. It says, finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. You see? So you can't be weak in this truth. You in here, you're doing certain things, but when certain things happen or you're faced with a certain thing, then you, oh, no, nah, hell no. You know, you draw back. Nah, man, the Lord, hey, you got to be strong. You got the parable of the sower, you know. Yeah, the good seed on the seed on the which the seed is good, but the ground, the person, the mind, all right, yeah, it was one thrown on the good earth and it got deep and, you know, it produced fruit, but it was also another one that sprung up too, but it was just amongst, you know, the rocks, so it couldn't get deep. So you can't just be shallow. You got to be deep. You got to be strong. Okay. All right. Now continuing on. Let's grab one moment. Let's grab Romans 4:17. It says, as the scripture says, I have made you a father of many nations. Abraham, this is in GWT, God's Word Translation. All right, Romans 4:17. As scripture says, I have made you a father of many nations. Abraham believed when he stood in the presence of Yahweh, who gives life to dead people and calls into existence things that don't even exist. When there was nothing left to hope for, Abraham still hoped and believed. As a result, he became a father of many nations. As he had been told, that is how many descendants you will have. You see? So if you keep that faith, you keep that trust, then that faith, that trust, the Lord is attracted to that, and he's going to bring in that deliverance. But if you don't have that faith, that trust, when you're going through whatever, or you just don't see the way, the path, really, then guess what? Then you draw back, then the Lord is going to draw back. Let's get a quick precept. This is James chapter 4 and verse 8. Draw nigh to Yahweh, and he will draw nigh to you. So if you get closer to the Lord, he going to get closer. But what happened if you go back? You think the Lord is going to get closer still? No, he's going to depart. Okay? Draw nigh to Yahweh, and he will draw nigh to you. Cleanse your hands, ye sinners, and purify your hearts, ye double-minded. Okay? All right? Now, I want to get Matthew chapter 28 in the NLT. In verse 20, it says, teach these new disciples to obey all the commands I have given you, and be sure of this, I am with you always, even to the end of the age. Okay? And we're at the end of the age. All right? And Yahweh Shai is still with us as we receive this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. okay, as the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel. Yeah, the 2/3 in America, they ain't trying, they ain't got it, they ain't got the spirit. All right, but the elect, all right, through the planet Earth, and the 1/3 of the Israelites in America, the elect, they received this. We know the Lord is with us. All right, so the Lord being with you, you should have comfort, and the Lord is going to give you comfort. The Lord can have an angel tap on your shoulder, put righteous thoughts in your mind to help you, or a brother, or a lesson, or a random person on the street. I know I got a testimony of that. I was years ago going through some dumb shit, some hell, and I remember I was sitting at this park, man. I was just like, fuck, man. And I remember it was Eve, Southern Kingdom Eve, on her phone, walking by, like working out, like fast-paced walk. And then she was speaking. She said something. She said, you're going to get it, step by step. She wasn't talking to me. She was on the phone. She was just walking by me at the moment. And she said, don't worry, you're going to get it step by step. It's a process. Just keep going, like one foot in front of the other. And I remember she just walked by. That's all I heard. I was like, wow. I was like, that is the spirit of the Lord, definitely. And that encouraged me, man. And it still encouraged me. You're supposed to remember those things, So let me see. Yeah, that's all the precepts I wanted to bring out. Lord's will, this was edifying unto the body, unto the elect. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh Ba'Shem Shai Ba'Shem Ruchakwadash for giving me the spirit and power to make this lesson. Until next time, Kam Yasharallah. Shalom.